Hello, everyone, and welcome to our topic today, which is sleep and stress hygiene. What's your routine? Thank you for joining us this morning. It's a beautiful day outside, so we're especially happy to have you here. Thank you so much. First and foremost, we just wish to thank our sponsors. So Lice and I are here today through Myant, MyView, and Pace Cardiology, and the wonderful collaboration between all of our organizations. We've had a collaboration together for about 2 years. And really what that's based on is the monitoring of health metrics by Myant. For MyView, we are dealing with health behaviors and behavior change. So there was just such a beautiful partnership there right from the beginning. And we're just so happy to be here. And again, Pace Cardiology, of course, is mainly on the cardiac side, really helping to collaborate in those ways. So we thank you our sponsors so very much for having us here, and we're very excited to continue this partnership as we go forward. Just some disclosures to get us started. So I am here on behalf of MyView. So my name is Leslie Van Zel-Slemp. Yes, that's a mouthful. Just remember the Leslie part. I am the program lead for MyView. I have worked in chronic disease for about 18 years. So I've been in this field for a long time. My main background is exercise physiology. And the main area of chronic disease that I have been part of for all of these years is cardiac rehabilitation. So that has been my main area of study and expertise. But I've had the wonderful fortune to be in all areas of chronic. But cardiac is definitely where I began and is the nearest and dearest to my heart, which is why when I was approached by MyView to help build this program and to be the program lead, it's definitely a dream job for me. So that is why I am here. Lace, please take it away.
Yeah, so my name is Lais, different name for everybody. So as Leslie was saying, I'm also working with cardiovascular rehabilitation for about 9 years right now. I'm currently a clinical scientist at Myant, and my background is physiotherapy. So basically everything that involves the health monitoring features in our garments, in the Mind garments, I am involved in there, doing some research around. And the main goal it's really try to help patients to change their behaviors through health technology. So this is why I'm so passionate about the integration between healthcare and the technology. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Very happy to
All
be.
right, everyone, we are going to jump right in. So first and foremost, what you will learn today. So the difference between hygiene and routine and how they complement each other. So very excited because I know many patients when I talk about this aspect of it, they've never heard this before, and it's a really cool thing to start to understand. Next is the definition of stress. Of course, how stress impacts our health and what we can do to reduce stress. Then we're going to move on to our sleep component. And first will be sleep versus rest. Much like hygiene and routine, not many individuals understand the difference between sleep and rest. And again, how important they are by themselves, but also how they complement each other. So we're very excited to take you through that. How we can improve our sleep and what roles wearables can play. If that word isn't familiar to you, then we'll be explaining that as well as to what a wearable actually is and how many different kinds there are. But we will get into that more. But that's where we will end our presentation, is on this discussion of wearables. And again, those health metrics that have sort of already been discussed just a little bit. Elias. So let's jump into hygiene, everyone. So again, when we hear the word hygiene, we think dental. Most patients I talk to, when I bring this up, this is the first thing that comes to mind. And then the second thing that usually comes is flossing. So this idea of, okay, to help with my teeth, to help keep them in just primo condition, we need to be flossing. So this is a great example, but we are going to take this further because the word hygiene is actually an excellent word for wellness behaviors, right? So it should be part of our day, not something we're making time for. Okay, so that's sort of the first thing I want you to think about. But we'll talk about the definition. So hygiene refers to conditions and practices that help to maintain health. So again, thinking of the dental, right? So the condition and practice would be flossing, okay, to help to maintain the health of our teeth. But I'm going to give you an example of stress. Now, I have put down examples from my own life. And I like to sort of joke that these are current because we will talk to you about this in a little bit. These things change all the time. And it's actually really important to understand that, right? Just that these need to be agile and fluid because life changes all the time. And if only we knew what was coming, but none of us do, right? So we do have to keep our hygiene pretty fluid and agile. But as it currently sits for my stress hygiene, walking 60 minutes per day is what helps me the most. So interestingly enough, not, a lot of people would just think, oh, it must be your workout. No, this is actually something separate, and it does make a huge difference for me. Even if I've had my workout, if I don't have this walk, right, because it just brings something different for me, it actually doesn't help with my stress quite as much. So for me, the main hygiene at this point for me currently is to walk for 60 minutes per day. Moving to sleep hygiene. The main one for me, right, where I notice the most difference is 8 hours, right? So not 6, not 9, 8. 8 seems to be the magic number for me at this time, right? Where I'm fully rested, I'm ready to take on the day. That 8 is very critical for me. Okay, so now we're going to switch to the next portion. Now we talk about routine. So how is this different? A routine is a sequence of actions regularly followed, right? So a fixed program. Now, the best way to think of this is when I talk to patients about hygiene, it's even the idea of walking for 60 minutes. Sounds great, right? Awesome. Beautiful that we've come up with this thing that we know will help the most. But how are we actually going to go about doing it, right? So these things usually do sound nice, but we need a plan, right? We need a regularly scheduled program, sounds like television, to actually give us the best chance of success. Because again, that's the other thing, everyone, that we'll talk about as well, is there are no guarantees to this, right? We have to give ourselves the best chance of success when it comes to our wellness behavior. So for me, for the stress hygiene, for the stress routine portion, for 60 minutes of walking, what sets me up best is getting up at 6 a.m., putting my exercise clothes on immediately. So literally, feet go down off that bed, clothes are right there, on they go, right to the bathroom, brush my teeth, and leaving immediately after. So this, again, this fixed program, this sequence of events gives me the best chance to complete my stress hygiene, which is walking for 60 minutes. If I do all of these things, again, usually quite successful. When we look at sleep, again, sounds lovely, 8 hours. Oh, it's wonderful that you figured out that 8 hours is the best thing for you. Sounds nice. How do we give ourselves the best chance of success with that? What fixed program do I have to give myself, right, that good success? For me, at this time, and I will always keep saying that, is at this time. For me, it is no screen for 1 hour before bedtime. So important for me. It's, I've even you cheat a little bit. It actually makes a huge difference if I cheat. So 1 hour is critical for me. White noise. Right. So we'll talk about this possibly a little bit later too. But this idea of, I sometimes like to joke, it actually brought to my attention through my children. Right. So white noise when they're babies, again, all of these things, we're so desperate for the babies to sleep. But white noise made a huge difference for my children. And I don't know, it's that I got used to it, right? From, so many hours laying in bed with them, trying to help them to sleep. But white noise now for me is critical, right? I can't have that silence. I do need that background. Currently for me, it's ocean sounds. And is that probably because it's my kid's favorite? Maybe. I've gotten used to it. But for me, it's ocean sounds, right? For some people, it's a fan. Lots of examples of white noise, but it's critical for me. Last one is a sleep mask. So there's a lot of light in my bedroom. My husband's not a big fan of curtains, window treatments, etc. He loves the light. I love the light too, but once, different times of the year, I need it dark so I can go to sleep. So the sleep mask is very important for me. So again, everyone, the idea is just to get you thinking. Okay, so some other examples. Again, this is the gears, right? Really want to get you to start thinking. So some common methods to cope with stress. Again, I've given you some examples, but these are some other ones. This slide I find particularly interesting. So this is actually looking at things from a generational standpoint. So this is the percentage of each method to cope with stress by generation. So I am Generation X. Okay, that's all I'm going to give you. Generation X. So from my particular generation, 98% of my generation uses entertainment to cope with their stress. For relaxation, about 73% of us. Exercise and sex, about 73% of us. For substances, about 53% of us. Chores, about 50%. And therapy, about 10%. So again, just wanting now, not going to get everyone to put up their hands as to what generation they're in, but take a look at that, right? And again, this is just to get you thinking about, what do I use? Am I even aware of what I use to cope with my stress, right? But again, these are some examples. So just trying to get you to think about it, right? But boy, entertainment's big on that one. Oof. All right, so for sleep, another thing I want you to start thinking about. So let's go to the next slide. Perfect. So again, some common methods to improve sleep. I gave you some examples from before, again, of what things actually help me, right, to actually fall into a good sleep hygiene. But these are some examples of what, again, 52.7% of the respondents said is watching television. So that's the biggest one. So interesting. To help them sleep and improve their sleep, they're watching TV and they're streaming. Another, for others, again, we'll just read them off there, but you can see them. But showering, talking to a partner, reading a book, unplugging from technology. So again, big one. We've got checking emails, doing some breathing activities, some breathing exercises, reading on the tablet, using a sleep app, having a drink, eating specific foods, exercise, yoga. So again, all really good examples of ways to help improve sleep. But again, these are some of the most common ones. So I'm just going to pause there for a minute. Okay. And I just want that to sink in a little bit, because again, this is a very interactive presentation. We really want you to get involved. We really want to hear what kinds of things are actually going on in your lives. So we'll move to the next slide. Because now we're going to get into some definitions. I just want to, again, I want you to hold those ideas in your head, even maybe write them down, because you're going to need them. But we're going to start talking about stress now, right? So what is stress, right? First and foremost, this is natural, okay? It is part of our lives. And interestingly enough, we actually need it, right? So it's a physical and mental reaction to life experiences, the body's response to physical, mental, or emotional pressure, okay? So again, it's something that we all have, and it's actually something to a point that we need. How does it happen? Stress can be triggered by so many different things, right? Work, family, can also be brought on by serious life events, death, a medical diagnosis, a new job. Lots of things can cause us stress. The problem becomes when it becomes unhealthy, right? So that change from regular stress in our lives, right? And actually, stress is one of those things that, not only is it natural, but it's actually good for us, right? In so many ways, right? It just stimulates so much of ourselves. A challenge can just be so invigorating, knowing we've met that challenge, knowing that, we were able to accomplish it, that feeling of accomplishment. The hard part becomes when those things happen, and as good as they are for us, if we can't come back down, right? So if we can't recover, this becomes the issue, right? This is when it becomes unhealthy and starts to become chronic. So that is the challenge, is whether we are recovering from our stress, right? Whether it's becoming chronic. Next slide. Okay, what happens in the body? Now, if you've never thought about this, we're going to ask you to think about it today. Again, it's a matter of being conscious of it, which a lot of us are not conscious of it. So what happens in the body? So the fight or flight response, which again, I'm doubtful that this is the first time that anyone's heard this fight or flight, right, component, right, of the nervous system. So this response is what your body does when it thinks it's in danger, right? Your body gets ready to fight or run by doing some of the following things. So releasing stress hormones, increasing your heart rate and blood pressure, redirecting blood to your muscles. Now, if we take a look at the list there, I think some of us can sort of start to connect these things, right, of what might even happen in your own body. So if we go through the list there, right, now, even personally for me, as an example, a lot of the time my heart will race, right? I can feel those hairs standing up on my arms, right? I can feel my saliva just go, right? And mouth becomes very dry. But again, lots of examples there. So again, there's hearing loss. There's the slowing of digestion. There's our bladder relaxing, right? Again, the sweat glands, this is a very common one, of course, as well. Okay, so just some thoughts here of why this matters, right? So this stress response. So when it comes to this response, the problem becomes that your body actually can't recognize whether whether you're running, the bus has started to go and, oh my gosh, I'm not going to make it in time. I've got to grab all my stuff and I got to run for it, right? Run for the bus, still miss the bus versus being chased by a saber-toothed tiger, right? So back at the Stone Age, right? Like this is how we survived. We had this ability to have this response and this is how, right? This is how we exist, right? But the problem becomes that the body doesn't know the difference. So if once again, going back to this idea of recovery, right? If we are not coming back down from this response, right? If our nervous system is not calming back down, we stay in this fight or flight more and more and more, right? So the body becomes almost consistently, again, it's that chronic aspect of being in this state all the time, right? Or most of the time. And that becomes the problem. So that's why this all matters so much. Next slide. Okay, so we thought we'd put this little jumble of examples here for a reason, because common causes of stress. Oh my gosh, there are just so many, right? So many things that cause us stress. So not going to start reading those off, right? There's many of them there. I'll give an example of mine from last week. Life, lots of things coming at us, and my poor 5-year-old, falls at school off the monkey bars. Every mother's worst nightmare, it's always the monkey bars, and broke her arm in 2 places, right? So poor thing. So has this caused stress in my household over this past week? Absolutely, right? So there's lots of common causes and there's things that just come out of the blue, right? The interesting thing about this is that we don't know, right? We can't predict what's going to come. Right? Can only start to actually work on how we actually deal with it. But I'm sure a lot of you can recognize a lot of those in your own lives, right? Of some of your stressors. Okay, so how stress affects the body in so many ways. And again, not just for me to explain what goes on in the body, but I want you to really think about how you experience this, right? So what happens in your own body, right? Or maybe what's happening even now, possibly things you're speaking with your physician about even currently, right? So just some examples, again, in our brains, right? We have difficulty concentrating, there's anxiety, depression, irritability. From the cardiovascular standpoint, high cholesterol, right? This can happen when we've got big stressors that, again, where we're not actually, where we're actually not actually recovering. High blood pressure, again, another very common one, increased risk of heart attack and stroke. Joint and muscles, increased inflammation, tension, and aches. Our immune system, right? So really decreasing our immune functions, lowering our defenses and our risk of an increase in recovery time. Our skin, right? So I have a lot of patients even recently, that are experiencing a lot of, again, in a certain group that I have, especially, a lot of issues with skin, right? So hair loss, dull and brittle hair, brittle nails, dry skin, acne, lots of delayed tissue repair in the gut, right? So nutrient absorption, really having trouble absorbing those nutrients, diarrhea, constipation, indigestion, in our reproductive system. So decreasing hormone production, decreasing our libido, increase in PMS symptoms for women. Lots and lots of examples here, right? But really want you to think about that, right? In this moment, try to think about how your body, right, is affected by stress, right? What particular things do you experience and what are you concerned about? Okay, next slide. All right, so just a bit of a routine break here. Haha, yes, we're using the word routine. Want a little bit of sharing. So how does stress affect your body? Let's put some things into the chat. Anyone share a little bit of how stress affects their body? Okay, anything coming up there, Nadia? Anyone wishing to share? Oh, I see things coming up here. We've got headaches, sugar levels. Absolutely. Yeah. Anyone else wishing to share? Yeah. Okay. Really slows you down, right? Absolutely. It's a fatigue, just not being able to keep up with regular responsibilities. Absolutely. Okay. Anyone else wishing to share? Absolutely. Anxiety, a very, very common one. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. Again, some really, really good ones there, everyone. Now, just to kind of come on the back of that, do you currently have strategies that you use to actually to relax, to help these things? And give some examples of that. Anything that helps. Love that one, Bob. Of course, the exercise physiologist loves that one. Walking on the treadmill. Beautiful. Okay, anyone else wishing to share some strategies? Entertainment, yeah. Yeah, you're on that upper percentage there. Positive self-talk. Fantastic. I love that you said positive self-talk and not just self-talk. Listening to music. Absolutely. Lots of wonderful examples. Yes, travel. Love that one myself. A change of scenery can make a world of difference. Okay. Perfect. Thank you so much, everyone. Again, thank you to those who shared, and for everyone else, even if you didn't feel like sharing, possibly some good things for you to think about yourself, right? If you don't currently have many that help you, again, some great examples here. Photography. Oh, I love that one. That's a goal for me. Fantastic. Excellent. Just to be still in a dark place. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Very good break there. Some really good thoughts and some good sharing. Okay, so we're just going to head to our next slide. Okay, so what can we do, everyone? Right? So these are just some great examples of, again, you gave some great ones, and then these are some other examples of things that we can do, right? So when it comes to again, some of these things you may have heard of before, some of them possibly not. So deep breathing, again, a very excellent practice, right? So still lots of examples of that. So there's square breathing. There's what we call 4-7-8 breathing, which we're actually going to give a try in a little bit. There's, pursing our lips, right? That kind of breathing. There's nostril breathing. Again, lots of examples there when it comes to deep breathing. There's progressive muscle relaxation, mindfulness meditation, guided imagery. So an example of this is, where we would close our eyes and visualize a place that makes you feel, calm and safe. For a lot of people, perhaps that's a beach or it's a forest. Yoga is a very common practice. Exercise itself, which a lot of you have given some great examples there. And again, especially for the exercise physiologist here in the group, obviously physical activity is an amazing way to decrease stress, whether it be a brisk walk or just doing a quick stretch. Again, so much research behind this. Time management, very, very common one. So stress can often be caused by feeling overwhelmed or having too much on your plate, right? Which again, I think of a lot of us experience on a regular basis. So, learning to reprioritize your tasks and create a schedule can help immensely, just in general. But then, of course, even booking some time for relaxation. Social support. So this is another huge one. So talking to friends and family about stressors can help you feel supported and less alone. So loneliness is a common stressor. Seeking out social connections and support when you're feeling stressed. Again, very, very helpful there. Sleep, course, right? So again, when we talk about recovery, sleep is just such a huge component, which is why it's obviously paired with this topic of stress today. So trying to create that relaxing bedtime routine, and lots more to come on that. Bilateral stimulation, that's more just an example of music before bedtime. Okay, so lots of good examples there. Okay, so then we've got our psychological interventions, right? So this is where, if we needing to take that next step, so talking to your therapist. So lots of examples here of what we can do in therapy, but some examples: CBT, so cognitive behavioral therapy, some somatic therapies, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, so EMDR, brain spotting. Acceptance and commitment therapy. So lots of examples there. We're talking with a therapist, so many ways to improve our ability to cope with stress. Mindfulness-based stress reduction. So that's MBSR. That involves a lot of incorporating mindfulness practices, deep breathing, other examples there for overall well-being. Journaling. This is one I actually love myself. So writing down those thoughts and feelings, for me, especially before bed, can help process those emotions and reduce stress. A gratitude practice. So this is another one, especially in the research right now, that is just so huge. So focusing on the good things in life and expressing gratitude can just help so much to shift away from our stress and to promote positive emotions. So lots of thoughts there. Want you to remember again that everyone experiences stress differently, right? So, I always like to say with our patients, if we're talking about this, as good as it is to share and everyone hears everyone's examples, your experience is your own, right? So it takes a lot of experimentation and what works for you, and also to remember that when you find your little cocktail, right, of what works, it doesn't mean that you can hit repeat, right? So for different situations, different things work, right? So it might not always be the same, the same repeat, right? You might need to come at it a different way. You might need to be open to different ways of helping with this. Also too, again, realizing that if you are experiencing chronic stress or anxiety, it's really important to seek out a mental health professional, right? So as there's so many examples today, and so much out there in the information of how we can help with stress. It is really important to, again, seek out that help when we need it. Okay, so our routine breaks. So before we move into now, I'm really actually hoping before we move into sleep that this doesn't put you to sleep, but just want to take everyone through just a breathing exercise. So Nadia, if you can hit, we're just going to have everyone watch just a quick video. I really would love you to engage in this breathing exercise.
This is a deep breathing exercise that will allow your body and mind to become calmer.
Go ahead and make yourself comfortable as you gently close your eyes. You'll inhale through your nose for a count of 4, hold the breath for a count of 7, and exhale through your mouth for a count of 8. Don't worry if you aren't exact here, just do your best. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Good. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're doing a good job. Inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and exhale 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Keep going. Inhale 4. Hold for 7. and exhale 8. Let it all go. Feel the stress release and your shoulders soften.
Okay.
Inhale 4. Hold for 7. And exhale 8. One more time. Inhale 4. Hold for 7. And exhale 8. You can take a few more deep breaths or allow your breathing to return to its natural rhythm as you breathe through your nose. Hopefully you feel a little more relaxed at this point. When you're ready, gently open your eyes and sit quietly for a moment before you get up.
Okay, everyone. We hope that that was enjoyable for you. I'm not sure, obviously, who on the call has experienced different breathing exercises, but that is one of the most popular and definitely one of the most helpful that we see through research. So we hope you enjoyed that, and hopefully you're not asleep because we are now going to switch to our sleep component. Take it away, Lays.
Thanks, Leslie. Let's talk a little bit about sleep and rest. There are some strategies that help you to cope with stress. So they're very, very important. Let me see. There we go. So as Leslie mentioned, many of us do not think about the difference between sleep and stress. So what are the differences between them? Sleep is a kind of altered conscious state where the body shuts down all the physical and mental work. So instead, it only carries out the necessary metabolic functioning like respiration and blood circulation, etc. While sleeping, our body is in its repair mode. So all of the vital components revitalize and the cells continuously regenerate during sleep. Resting, though, is a stage where our body is still out from a stress routine. It is a kind of activity that a person frequently does to regain his lost freshness or energy. So resting is very versatile action. This can vary from person to person, place to place, or purpose to purpose. And while resting, our body is conscious, but it tries to calm all its senses and get rid of any sort of stress that we may have. There are different types of stress. There we go. Different types of rest, not stress. That includes physical, mental, sensory, spiritual, creative, and social. So physical rest includes those activities that make your body move and function. So things that you enjoy doing with your body, for example, workout at the gym, outdoor exercise, riding a bike, practice a specific sport. Mental rest include your thoughts and emotions. So here is when you find positive ways to distract yourself and get away from your stressor. For example, stepping away from a busy work day to take a walk or clear your space. Sensory rest includes sights, sounds, and environments. It is basically when you reduce your sensory stimulation to allow your body to recover from the constant bombardment of sensory information. For example, when you take time away from the screen or reduce your lights and opt to use a candle light. So you're reducing this amount of information that you have around you. Spiritual rest includes spiritual practices and time commitments. So things that you do to revive your mind, body, and spirit. An example is when you practice your religion, or it can also be seeking out a sense of purpose, like doing a volunteer work, for example. Creative rest is when you are generating and creating new ideas or projects and surrounding yourself with inspiration that can help replenish your draining resources. For example, when you are reading a book or enjoying the arts, or the simple fact of going outside and enjoying the nature, that is all creative rest. And the last but not least, we have the social rest. That is the time that you spend with and for others. So it can be either when you are catching up with your friends that gives you a social support, or perhaps when you're actually taking a break from socializing altogether. In the next slide, you can see why resting is important. So getting enough rest can help you decrease stress, improve sleep, give you more energy, improve memory and concentration, elevate your mood, and promote healing. So choose different types of rest that fits your schedule and personality, and make sure you're getting enough rest out there. When we go on the sleep subject, we will start talking a little bit more about sleep, but first I would like to invite you to take this small quiz that you're seeing on your screen. So feel free to type down our chat box. On a scale from 1 to 10, I want you to reflect how important is your sleep quality to your daily life. So how much does sleep quality actually impact your daily activities? Being 1 not important at all, and 10 very, very important. So I'm seeing some answers now. 8, 9, 10, 8. Yeah, feel free to go on and type that down. Somebody else wants to share? 9. 9. Yeah, so we can see that for most people, sleep, having a good sleep quality is very, very important for us to be able to do our normal activities, regular activities. Thanks for those who have shared the importance of your sleep for your daily activities. And now just try to look at those statements that you have on your screen and think what best describe your sleep challenges and goals. So maybe you feel that you need help falling and staying asleep, or that you are challenged by insomnia, that you want to create a better sleep environment, that you want to better understand your sleep challenge, that you have breathing and snoring challenges, or perhaps pain during and after sleep. So what are the major challenges that you face when you go to bed, when you're going to sleep? And if you have other challenges, please feel free to let us know too. So I'm seeing some answers, all of them. So those are the major things that impact our sleep. Pain, hips. Anybody else that wants to share? Nobody else? Okay, so staying asleep. Yeah, so we all have many challenges to sleep. And now that we understand a little bit what happens with you, we can finally dive into the amount of sleep and what we can actually do to sleep better. So while I'm talking, keep reflecting on your sleep patterns. Yeah, so some people need to go to the bathroom during the sleep, brain won't shut off. Yeah, so those are major challenges. Thanks for sharing, everyone. So if you think about how many hours we actually need to sleep to get enough rest and enough recover. So like I said before, sleep happens when our body shuts down. So we have specific recommendations on how long your body needs to be shut down for you to get really revitalized and recovered. So these recommendations are, as you can see in the screen, divided by age ranges. So the older you get, the less sleep you need to recover yourself. And this is because children are in process of growing. So they need more rest to allow their body to grow and be mature. But that doesn't mean, though, that we do not need sleep at all. So it is recommended for adults to sleep at least 7 hours per day to get really revitalized. So it's very important for us to be aware of our challenges and about these strategies that we can take to actually overcome those challenges. So if you fall short or have some sort of sleep deprivation, your body will negatively react to that. And here are some common body reactions associated with sleep deprivation. So we have impaired cognition, and this will affect your memory and ability to process information. Higher levels of anxiety because your lack of sleep raises your brain anticipatory reactions, increasing the overall anxiety level. Risk of stroke, so that is increased 4 times when we sleep 6 hours or less per night. Risk of diabetes, as sleep deprivation increases stress hormones that are associated with insulin resistance. Increased symptoms of depression, as lack of sleep disrupts neurotransmitters to the brain, which regulates your mood. Increased risk of breast cancer, as sleep deprivation reduces the production of the hormone called estrogen that acts as a protector agent for breast cancer. Increased risk of heart disease, so your blood pressure typically decreases when you are sleeping. So the lack of sleep increases your blood pressure and also can lead to unhealthy habits, including higher stress levels, less motivation to be physically active, and unhealthy food choices. And weight gain, as sleep helps balance hormones that make you feel hungry and full. So if you are sleeping less than recommended, you will probably feel the need to eat more. So you have received all of this information about rest and sleep, and also reflect on your challenges to sleep and things you want to address because you want your body to be as healthy as possible. So what are these small changes in your habits that can help us to address those challenges to sleep and therefore reduce your overall risk? So here's what we recommend. So keep a consistent sleep schedule. So get up at the same time every day, even on the weekends and vacations. That helps you to regulate your sleep cycle. Don't go to bed unless you're sleepy. If you don't fall asleep after 30 minutes, get out of bed. Make sure your bedroom is quiet and relaxing, keeping the room at a comfortable and cool temperature. Limit exposure to bright lights in the evening. Turn off electronic devices at least 30 minutes before your bedtime. So limit exposure to lights. It's aligned with that. Don't eat a large meal before the bedtime, and exercise regularly. Maintain a healthy diet and avoid consuming caffeine and alcohol in the evening, or for some people 12 hours before going to bed, as you're going to be in an alert mode if you do that. So now I want you to reflect a little bit of your schedule. So considering all of those options that I just stated to you, which ones you can choose to sleep and rest better? So let me try to go back to this slide. So Nadia, I don't know if you can help me to just go back. There we go. So take a look at those options and let us know, what do you think that you can change in your sleep schedule in order for you to try to sleep better than you are sleeping right now? If you want to share that with us. So avoiding consume of caffeine and alcohol in the evening. Yes, that certainly influences your sleep. Yeah, electronic device. Sometimes it's very difficult to disconnect, especially when we go to bed. even if we're reading something, sometimes we start reading a book on our phone, for example, and then we are pretty much exposing ourselves to these electronic devices. Certainly a major challenge that we have to change. Anybody else that wants to share what changes? 10 minutes of Tai Chi helps. Yes, absolutely. This is certainly a great strategy to sleep better. Yeah, sometimes it's difficult to fit the amount of sleep that actually we have to take if we have a lot of commitments. It's totally understandable. I think the major problem is really if we do that consistently. So if it is once in a while that we have a lot of commitments and do not have enough time to sleep, I think that wouldn't impact that much our health. But the problem is if it is consistent, that can become, unfortunately, a issue in the future.
Yes, the afternoon nap is definitely a common one, Tariq. And actually I saw a comment from earlier. So with the napping piece, I'm just going to quickly really touch on it. Just some really quick takeaways for napping. You want to keep it short. Right. So we used to say, no napping. Not the case anymore. So napping is okay. It's just, again, there's like little rules almost to it. So you want to keep it short, right? So 10 to 20 minutes is sort of the idea. Once we go past that, and we get into a bit of trouble there. Early afternoon. So Tariq, I'm not sure what time of the afternoon that you're taking your nap. A lot of the research right now would show before 3 p.m. is best. So early afternoon, once it gets past 3, tends to be a bit more of an issue. And then, that restful environment for napping is very important as well. So I just wanted to sneak in on the napping because that's a common question. Very good question.
Yeah, and I'm seeing a question here about number 1 and number 2. So the idea is basically to try to have a schedule where we go to bed at the same time and wake up at the same time. If you are not sleepy at all, the recommendation would be for you to start previous to the time that you want to go to bed. Start doing some activities that actually will slow your body down. So breathing exercises, meditation, or reading, things that will start slowing you down for you to actually feel sleepy at the time that you want to go to bed. So this is kind of the connection between one and another. Yeah, so when we wake up in the night, the recommendation, the most important thing would be for you to have 7 hours sleep in total during the night. If you're waking up in the night during the night, you certainly have a few challenges to sleep, or things that are actually coming up to your mind and making you to be awake during that time. So again, if you wake up in the night, try to do some strategies, take over some strategies to relax and feel asleep again and go to bed. But ideally, you would have to have this 7 hours long sleep so you can really navigate into all of the sleep phases to recover your body.
Sadly, yes, Bob, they are excluded.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. If you've woken up, we're sorry. Unfortunately. Yeah.
All right, so let's move on here. Okay, next one. Yes. So we have identified all of these different strategies and action items that you can take to improve your sleep. So there are a variety of things that you can do to try to sleep better and keep up with a consistent sleep schedule. And then to make sure that this has been improving over time, you can also consider taking advantage of wearable technologies that are currently available in the market and can help you actually track your sleep and your overall health. When I say overall health, it's more related to health metrics. So that includes resting heart rate variability, that is totally related to your stress level. The higher, the better. Electrocardiogram sensors to track your heart activity, sleep cycles, NOR detection, and breathing rate. So let's say that you have identified all of your challenges, you have incorporated some action items for you to do before you go to bed, for you to get a consistent 7 hours of sleep, 8 hours of sleep. But then now you want to actually understand and quantify your progress. So that is when actually tracking these health metrics can help you to really quantify your progress and hold yourself accountable. So you can see on this screen, on your screen right now, on this slide, a few wearable sensors that can help you track these health metrics. And that includes, for example, Fitbit, Muse headband, Apple Watch, Within Sleep tracking match, and the Mind garments. So as you know, I disclosed at the beginning, I am a clinical scientist at Myant, and we have been working to develop our smart wearable textiles that have the capability to detect sleep, physical activity, electrocardiogram, and share this information directly to your family or even to your doctor. So these garments, they are medical devices, and I'm happy to share that we have been recently licensed by Health Canada for commercialization in Canada. So if you are interested in learning a little bit more about these devices or learning if these products are right for you, you can visit mindhealth.ca and speak with your doctor about it. And any questions, you can type down the chat box. All right, so I'll pass over to Leslie.
Thank you, Liz. Excellent. Yeah. So just sort of, coming back to that original idea, right, of really thinking about these routines. So obviously we hope very much that we've really got you thinking about, what your hygiene might be for these two areas, right? So sleep and stress, and got you thinking, possibly, hopefully, that next step of what is your routine to maintain these parts of your hygiene. So just a few things to throw out there. So much to this, but just some really great takeaways, especially for what we do in our programming and most of the patients that I see. These are a lot of the pitfalls, right? So when they're trying to come up with routine, if people get too rigid, it's a really big issue. Life is changing constantly all the time. So you really have to be very fluid and agile when it comes to your routine, right? So try not to get hooked in there too much. We really have to keep it very fluid. You need to expect days where not everything is going to get done. Right. So that's almost like an understood thing. Like you really have to tell yourself that almost on a daily basis that you might not hit them all. And most days you won't, right? And just really have that good acceptance with that. You need to expect bad days, right? Again, nobody knows what's coming. So we have to expect that they're going to come. And that's, again, one of the reasons of doing all of this is that when they do hit, that we might have some good strategies to help us get through them. Please be kind to yourself. In our program, I think that's like our big rule a lot of the time, because again, we're so hard on ourselves. You really have to give yourself that grace, right? Just that life is tough, right? You've got, not only do we have to be kind to others, but we really, really need to be kind to ourselves. Minimize the size of the task or the problem. So a lot of the time, that's the biggest issue with routines is this huge routine that we've come up with, right? If we can make it smaller, it's a lot more doable, right? So we spend a lot of time doing that. That's a big one, I find, for most people. And then, of course, getting help from the professionals when you need it. Same thing as Lace with the same thing in my disclosure. We are professionals in our programming, right? So that's one of the things that we do. I always say there's no magic wand. A lot of the time when it comes to wellness programming, we are helping with your routines and we're helping to keep you accountable, right? So if you're struggling with these things, programs do exist, individuals, exist out there to help us with these things, right? And if you can't hit them, it's important to reach out. Okay. I believe our next one is just a little more on that. So again, from a programming standpoint, I always say wellness programming is a little more for, if we've got these single issues. Now, I that's sort of the interesting thing about this. I find a lot of us, it's not just one thing, right? It's not one thing that we're not quite hitting with our wellness. It's many things. So that is what wellness programs can help to do, right? We're really taking that overall holistic approach for our well-being. We're touching on everything. We're touching on all what I call the pillars, right? So nutrition, exercise, stress management, mental health, coming at all of those things from all angles, and really helping with that coaching aspect of on a daily basis, how to weed our way through them and continue to come up with some good strategies. The most important thing I think with that is, again, it's treating the person as the person, right? There's no such thing as a blanket approach for everybody, right? It's the personalization that really matters. So really thinking about what helps you is one of the most important things. So that's a lot of what a wellness program can do. And they do exist, right? We've really tried our best to touch upon what we feel can be helpful for the group, but know that there's lots more information out there, and anything that we weren't able to touch on today that you might have more questions about, please feel free to reach out to us, right? So we have numerous resources to help you. So again, we will be sending out this information. So the slides today, the actual links you see before you there. And then of course, any other questions that we get, and even some that we haven't been able to answer today, we will put on a follow-up email. But again, I really encourage you to reach out as well. So if you do just have more questions in general, or, if you are interested in hearing more about how wearables can help you, right? Lays is an amazing resource for this topic. And then on the end of, whether it be, programming, finding individuals to help with certain things, that's what we're here for. We really want to express that we're here to help. So please feel free to reach out in any of these areas. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. It's been such a pleasure once again, and we hope to see you at our next topic. Take care, everyone.
Everyone, bye.
Bye now.